The fluorescent lights hummed overhead in County General's emergency room, turning every face the same tired color. Under that harsh white, no one looked young, not even the children. Nurse Emily Martinez stood at the supply cart, blue scrubs wrinkled, ponytail coming loose. Her shift was supposed to end 2 hours ago. It always was. She held a small medical instrument in her hand, nothing frightening, just a thermometer and a stethoscope, but to the tiny girl sitting on the examination table, it might as well have been a dragon. "I promise to be quick," Emily said softly, kneeling down to meet the child's eyes. The little girl, Lily, according to the chart, was 5 years old with dark curls plastered to her forehead with sweat. Her brown eyes were wide with fear, and she clutched a worn, stuffed rabbit like it was the only solid thing in a spinning world. Behind her, in a wheelchair, someone had brought because the waiting room chairs were all taken, sat an older woman. The chart said Evelyn Torres, grandmother, legal guardian. She was 68, though tonight she looked older. Her grey hair was pulled back in a practical bun, the kind you do when you don't have time for anything. Fancy. Her hands, swollen at the knuckles, trembling slightly, gripped the armrests of the wheelchair. She held on as if letting go might mean falling apart. "It's okay, mija," Evelyn said, her voice hoarse. "The nurse is going to help you feel better." Emily noticed how Evelyn tried to smile, how she pushed down whatever pain she was feeling to be strong for the child. She'd seen it 1,000 times, grandmothers in emergency rooms at midnight, holding families together with sheer willpower and love. "What seems to be the problem tonight?" Emily asked, though she'd already read the intake form. Sometimes hearing it in their own words told you more than any paperwork could. "She's had a fever for 2 days, Evelyn explained, leaning forward with effort. The fever had started like all the others Lily had ever had. Evelyn had told herself not to overreact this time. Doctors were expensive. Buses were hard at night. Her knees didn't forgive her anymore. "I thought it was just a cold at first," she continued. "Gave her medicine from the pharmacy, made her soup, kept her home from school. But today, she got worse. Much worse." Emily nodded, checking Lily's temperature. 103.2 degrees. High, but not immediately critical. "And these spots," Evelyn said, her voice dropping to almost a whisper. She gently lifted Lily's sleeve to show small purple marks dotting her arm. "They weren't there this morning. I got scared. I didn't know what else to do." Emily's professional mask stayed in place, but something flickered in her chest, a warning bell that came from years of emergency nursing. Those spots, combined with the fever, she made her voice warm, reassuring. "You did the right thing bringing her in. How did you get here tonight?" "2 buses," Evelyn said simply. Emily glanced at the chart again. The address was across town, 2 buses at night with a sick child and bad knees. "My car stopped working last month," Evelyn added quietly. "Haven't had the money to fix it yet." Emily felt that familiar weight settle over her, the weight of knowing how hard life could be, how many people fell through the cracks, how the system wasn't designed for grandmothers on fixed incomes riding public transportation at night with feverish grandchildren. "Well, you're here now," Emily said, making her voice light. "Let's get Lily feeling better. Can you tell me your favorite color?" "Sweetie," Lily whispered something that might have been purple. "Purple? That's a princess color. Are you a princess?" A tiny nod. "I thought so. Princesses are very brave, aren't they?" Another nod, less tiny this time. As Emily began her examination, gentle, quick, just as she'd promised, she noticed other details. The stuffed rabbit was old but clean, obviously loved and cared for. Lily's clothes were simple but freshly washed. Emily glanced at the worn purse sitting on Evelyn's lap, the neatly folded spare shirt tucked inside, the pill organizer at the top, the careful way Evelyn smoothed Lily's hair even now. No one had to tell her what kind of grandmother this was. "Has Lily been eating and drinking?" Emily asked. "Not much today. She said her throat hurt." "Any vomiting?" "No, just tired. So tired. She usually bounces around like a little rabbit, but today she just wanted to sleep." Emily wrote notes, her handwriting quick and practiced. Behind them, the emergency room continued its chaotic symphony, Phones ringing, monitors beeping, other nurses calling out medication names, a television playing news that nobody was watching. Tonight, County General felt like it was breathing too fast. Emily checked Lily's lymph nodes, swollen, and listened to her lungs. Clear, at least. She examined the spots on her arm more closely. Petechia, maybe. Could be nothing. Could be something serious. She glanced up at Evelyn, who was watching her face with the kind of desperate attention that only family members in emergency rooms have, searching for clues, reading every micro-expression. "Is she going to be okay?" Evelyn asked, and her voice cracked just slightly on the word okay. Emily's expression stayed calm, professional. "We're going to run some tests and figure out what's going on. Dr. Harris will be in to see her shortly." Shortly. In hospital time, that could mean anything. Evelyn nodded and reached for Lily's hand, squeezing it gently. Her wedding ring, gold, worn thin, caught the light. Lily looked up at her grandmother with complete trust. And Emily felt that warning bell ring again, just a little bit louder. What happens when the test results come back? Hit subscribe to follow their journey through this long night. Dr. Sarah Harris held the lab results in her hand, but she didn't look at them. She'd already memorized every number that mattered. At 43, 10 years into emergency medicine, she'd learned the hardest part of the job wasn't the medicine. It was the walking, the 20 steps from the lab computer to the examination room, the breath you took before you opened the door and changed someone's life. Tonight, those 20 steps felt longer than usual. She found Emily standing outside exam room 4, updating a chart. Emily looked up, saw her face, and understood immediately. They'd worked together long enough for that. "How bad?" Emily asked quietly. "Acute lymphoblastic leukemia. Preliminary, but the numbers are clear. White blood cell count is through the roof. I've already called oncology." Emily closed her eyes briefly. "The grandmother took 2 buses to get here." "I know. I read the chart." They stood there for a moment in the fluorescent hallway, 2 women who'd seen this before but never got used to. Inside the room, Evelyn was singing softly to Lily, some old lullaby in Spanish. Through the small window, Dr. Harris could see the grandmother's swollen hands stroking the child's hair, gentle despite the arthritis that must have made every movement hurt. She doesn't have family listed besides. "The grandmother," Emily said. "No parents on the forms." "Then it's just her." Dr. Harris straightened her white coat, a habit, something to do with her hands before delivering news that would shatter someone's world. She'd delivered bad news to hundreds of families, rich and poor, young and old, and never got easier. You just learned where to put the weight so it didn't crush you. In moments like this, you let their grief break against you and tried not to break with it. She knocked softly and entered. Evelyn looked up immediately, her eyes searching Dr. Harris's face with that same desperate attention Emily had noticed earlier. Mothers and grandmothers always knew. Something in them could read doctors like books. "Mrs. Torres," Dr. Harris said, pulling up a stool. She always sat. Standing felt too much like towering over people during the worst moments of their lives. "I have Lily's test results." Evelyn's hands tightened on the wheelchair armrests. "What is it?" "The tests show that Lily has a condition affecting her blood cells. It's called leukemia. It's a cancer of the blood." The last word was small and ordinary, but it seemed to strip the room of air. Evelyn's fingers went numb on the armrests. For a second she couldn't tell if the room was spinning or if it was just her. Lily, drowsy with fever, stirred on the examination table. "Abuela?" "I'm here, mija. I'm right here." Evelyn's voice shook, but she reached for Lily's hand anyway, always reaching, always holding on. Dr. Harris continued, her voice gentle but clear. "I know this is frightening, but I need you to understand something important. Childhood leukemia is very treatable. We've made incredible progress in the last 20 years. Many children with this diagnosis go on to live full, healthy lives." Evelyn nodded, but tears were sliding down her cheeks now. The doctor's words sounded distant, muffled, like someone speaking underwater. All she could hear clearly was that one word echoing in her skull. "Cancer, cancer, Cancer. She wiped her eyes quickly, trying to hide them from Lily. "What happens now?" she whispered. "We're admitting Lily tonight. The pediatric oncology team will take over her care. They'll do more tests tomorrow, start treatment planning. There's a lot we can do." "How much?" Evelyn started, then stopped, started again. "How much does treatment cost?" "Doctor." Harris had expected this question. She'd seen that look before, the way hope dimmed in a face the moment money came up. People who had sat alone in too many offices, handed too many forms and too few answers. "We have social workers who specialize in helping families navigate insurance, assistance, programs, payment plans. You won't be alone in this." But something in Evelyn's expression told Dr. Harris she'd heard promises like that before. "My car doesn't work," Evelyn said suddenly, desperately. "I took 2 buses tonight. My knees almost gave out on the steps." Her voice shook. "How am I supposed to bring her for treatment? How am I—" Her voice broke completely. Dr. Harris reached across and touched her hand. Just touched it. Sometimes that was all you could offer. "One step at a time," she said. "Tonight, she stays here. Tomorrow, we make a plan. We'll figure this out together." Evelyn looked down at Lily, who had fallen back asleep, her small chest rising and falling. The stuffed rabbit was tucked under her chin. "She's all I have," Evelyn whispered. "Her mother, my daughter. She's gone. Lily's father was never in the picture. It's just us, just me and her. For 5 years. For 5. It had been Evelyn packing lunches, wiping tears, braiding curls with stiff fingers that didn't always obey her. "Then we'll make sure you have what you need to fight this," Dr. Harris said. Outside, an ambulance siren rose and fell, drawing closer, then fading into the night. The hospital moved. On, phones ringing, doors sliding open and shut. While in the small exam room, Evelyn Torres sat very still, holding her granddaughter's hand as if it were the only solid thing left in the world. Can one grandmother's love be enough against impossible odds? Subscribe to find out what happens when the hospital bills start arriving. The pediatric oncology ward looked nothing like the emergency room. There were butterflies painted on the walls, bright primary colors, a mural of a smiling sun that seemed obscene to Evelyn as she pushed Lily's wheelchair down the hallway at 2 in the morning. Emily walked beside them, carrying the stuffed rabbit and a folder thick with papers. "Room 347, she said softly. "It's a semi-private, but the other bed is empty right now. You'll have some quiet." Quiet. Evelyn didn't want quiet. Quiet meant time to think. The room had a window that looked out over the parking lot. A reclining chair sat beside the hospital bed, vinyl, the kind that wiped clean, for the parents who stayed, for the grandmothers who had nowhere else to go. Emily helped transfer Lily to the bed. The child barely stirred, lost in fever and exhaustion. "A nurse will be in soon to get her." "Settled," Emily said. "They'll start IV fluids, get her more comfortable." She hesitated. "Have you eaten anything tonight?" Evelyn shook her head. "There's a cafeteria on the 2nd floor. It's closed now, but there are vending machines." Emily reached into her scrubs pocket and pulled out a $5 bill. "Please take it. I can't—" "You didn't eat dinner. Neither did she." Emily pressed the money into Evelyn's swollen hand. "You can't take care of her if you collapse." After Emily left, Evelyn stood by the window, watching red taillights disappear into the darkness. Somewhere out. There, people were going home, kissing their children goodnight in their own beds, complaining about ordinary things. Her phone buzzed. A text from Mrs. Chen next door. "Everything okay? Saw ambulance." Evelyn's thumbs hovered over the keyboard. How do you text, "My granddaughter has cancer"? How do you make those words fit in a little blue bubble? She typed, "At hospital. We'll explain later." Behind her, Lily murmured something in her sleep. Evelyn turned, watched her chest rise and fall. 5 years old. Kindergarten. She'd just learned to write her name. A nurse came in, young, kind-faced, moving, with practiced efficiency. She checked Lily's vitals, started an IV line with gentle hands, explained everything in a voice meant not to wake the child. "You should try to rest," the nurse said to Evelyn. "It's going to be a long road." After she left, Evelyn lowered herself into the vinyl chair, Her knees screamed, her back ached, but she didn't close her eyes. She couldn't stop looking at Lily's face, searching for signs of the disease Dr. Harris said was in her blood, as if cancer was something you could see, as if love could burn it away just by looking hard enough. Outside, another ambulance siren wailed. Evelyn reached for Lily's hand, careful of the IV line, and held on. Morning arrived cold and impersonal, announced by the sound of metal carts in the hallway. Evelyn hadn't slept. She'd spent the night watching Lily breathe, counting each rise and fall of her small chest, memorizing the rhythm of the monitors as if they were a prayer. At 7 a.m., Dr. Harris returned, accompanied by a woman in a white coat, with her hair pulled back in a tight bun. "This is Dr. Patel, our pediatric oncologist," he introduced. Oncologist. The word fell on Evelyn like a stone. Lily was still sleeping, finally resting after a restless night. Evelyn followed the doctors to a small conference room at the end of the corridor. White walls, formica table, uncomfortable chairs, a place made for bad news. The bone marrow results confirmed acute lymphoblastic leukemia, Dr. Patel said, without preamble. "It's the most common type in children. The good news is it has a high cure rate." Good news. Evelyn gripped the back of the chair. What's the bad news? The treatment is aggressive, chemotherapy in phases, possibly lasting 2 to 3 years. Lily will need to be hospitalized, frequently, especially in the beginning. 2 to 3 years. Evelyn's mind raced through the implications. Her job, their apartment, bills piling up. When do we start? Immediately. This week. Dr. Patel slid a folder across the table. Inside were consent forms, treatment protocols, lists of side effects that made Evelyn's stomach turn. "I know this is overwhelming," the doctor continued, her voice softer now, "but children are resilient. Lily has every chance of beating this." Evelyn signed the papers with trembling hands, each signature feeling like a surrender. When she returned to the room, Lily was awake, her stuffed rabbit clutched to her chest. "Mommy, when can we go home?" Evelyn climbed into the narrow hospital bed beside her daughter, wrapping her arms around the fragile body. "Soon, baby. Soon." But she knew nothing would ever be the same. The chemotherapy began on Tuesday. Evelyn held Lily's hand as the nurse inserted the IV line, watching the clear liquid drip slowly into her daughter's veins. Poison to kill poison. The irony wasn't lost on her. "It's cold, Mommy," Lily whispered, her voice small and frightened. "I know, sweetheart. Squeeze my hand if it hurts." The first few hours were deceptively calm. Lily dozed, watched cartoons, ate a little applesauce. Evelyn allowed herself a breath of hope. Then evening came. The vomiting started suddenly and violently. Lily's small body convulsed as she retched into a basin, tears streaming down her flushed cheeks. Evelyn held her hair back, whispering reassurances she didn't believe. "Make it stop," Lily sobbed between heaves. "Please, Mommy, make it stop." But Evelyn couldn't. She could only watch as the treatment that was supposed to save her daughter seemed to destroy her instead. By midnight, Lily lay exhausted and hollow-eyed against the pillows. Her lips were cracked, her skin pale as paper. The nurses had administered anti-nausea medication, but it barely touched the edge of her suffering. "I don't want to do this anymore," Lily whispered. "I want to go home." Evelyn's heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. "I know, baby, I know it's hard, but we have to keep fighting. You're so brave, the bravest girl I know." "I don't feel brave," Lily said, tears sliding down her temples. "I feel sick." Evelyn climbed into the bed, careful of the tubes and wires, and gathered her daughter close. She sang softly, the lullaby her own mother had sung to her, words about stars and dreams and tomorrow. Somewhere around 3 a.m., Lily finally fell asleep. Evelyn stared at the ceiling, listening to the mechanical rhythm of the monitors, and wondered how many more nights like this they would have to endure. Dr. Patel had said children were resilient. But what about mothers? How much could a heart break before it stopped working altogether? Through the window, the city lights glittered indifferently. Life continued out there, people sleeping peacefully, waking to normal problems, living in a living world where children didn't have cancer. Evelyn envied them with an intensity that frightened her. She looked down at Lily's sleeping face, still beautiful despite everything, and made a silent promise. Whatever it took, however long, she would see her daughter through this nightmare, even if it destroyed her in the process. The second round of chemotherapy hit harder than the first. Lily's hair began falling out on day 12. Evelyn found strands on the pillow first. Just a few, then more, then whole clumps coming away with the gentlest touch. "Don't brush it, Mommy," Lily said quietly. That morning, pulling away from the comb. "It hurts." By afternoon, Lily stood in front of the bathroom mirror, studying her reflection with an expression far too old for her 7 years. She touched her thinning scalp tentatively. "I look sick now," she said. Not a question. A statement of fact. Evelyn knelt beside her, fighting back tears. "You look like a warrior, like someone fighting the biggest battle of her life. Warriors are supposed to be strong." Lily's voice cracked. "I threw up 3 times this morning. I can't even walk to the playroom without getting tired. Strength isn't about not feeling weak, baby. It's about keeping going even when you do." But Lily just stared at her reflection, silent tears tracking down her cheeks. That night, Evelyn found her daughter in bed with scissors in her hand, surrounded by chunks of her own hair. "I wanted to do it myself," Lily explained, her voice hollow, "before it all fell out on its own, so I could choose." Evelyn's composure finally shattered. She sat on the bed and wept, deep, wrenching sobs she'd been holding back for weeks. Lily crawled into her lap, and they cried together in the dim hospital room. "I'm sorry, Mommy," Lily whispered. "I'm sorry I got sick." "Oh, sweetheart, no." Evelyn held her tighter. "You have nothing to be sorry for. Nothing. This isn't your fault." "Then whose fault is it?" The question hung in the air, unanswerable. The next morning, David arrived with a bag from home. Inside were colourful scarves, a soft beanie with cat ears, and a princess crown. "I thought we could make this fun," he said, his forced cheerfulness painful to hear. "Pick your royal look, Princess Lily." Lily touched the crown hesitantly, then put it on her nearly bald head. She looked at herself in the mirror again. "Do I still look like me?" David's voice was thick with emotion. "You'll always look like you, sweetheart, the bravest, most beautiful girl in the world." But that night, after David left and Lily finally slept, Evelyn stood at the window and let the darkness consume her. The fear, the exhaustion, the crushing weight of watching her child suffer. She didn't know how much more she could take. She didn't know if love alone would be enough to save them. Dr. Patel's words echoed in her mind. "The treatment is working. We have to stay the course." But at what cost? And what would be left of them when, if, they reached the other side? Evelyn pressed her forehead against the cold glass and prayed to a God she wasn't sure she believed in anymore. Please, please let her survive this. The journey gets darker before the dawn. Will Evelyn find the strength to continue? Subscribe to discover what happens next. Week 6 of treatment arrived with an unexpected visitor. Evelyn was dozing in the chair beside Lily's bed when a soft knock startled her awake. A woman in her mid-30s stood in the doorway, wearing jeans and a bright yellow headscarf. "I'm sorry to disturb you," she said gently. "I'm Amanda. I was a patient here 3 years ago." Evelyn blinked, confused. "I don't understand. I visit sometimes, talk to families going through what I went through." Amanda smiled, and there was something luminous about it. "Dr. Patel mentioned you might need someone who's been there." Lily stirred, her eyes opening slowly. "You were sick too." Amanda stepped closer, pulling off her headscarf to reveal a full head of curly brown hair. "Stage 3 lymphoma. Lost all my hair twice during treatment. Thought I'd never feel normal again. But you're okay now." Lily's voice was small, hopeful. "I'm okay now. Better than okay, actually. I got married last year. I run marathons. I'm living a life I never thought I'd have again." Evelyn felt something crack open in her chest, a tiny fissure letting in light. Over the next hour, Amanda sat with them, sharing her story, without sugarcoating the hard parts, the pain, the fear, the moment she wanted to give up. But also the turning points, the small victories, the day the scans came back clear. "I won't lie to you, Lily," Amanda said. "Some days will be really, really hard. But hard doesn't mean impossible." After Amanda left, Lily was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "Mommy, her hair was pretty. It was beautiful. Do you think mine will grow back like that?" Evelyn took her daughter's hand. "I think your hair will grow back exactly how it's supposed to, and you'll be just as beautiful as you are. Right now." That afternoon, something shifted. Lily asked for her coloring books, the first time she'd shown interest in anything in days. She managed to eat half a bowl of soup without getting sick. David arrived that evening to find Lily sitting up in bed, showing her mother a drawing of a girl with curly hair running under a rainbow. "That's me when I'm better," Lily explained. "I'm going to run too, like Amanda." David looked at Evelyn, questions in his eyes. She filled him in, watching his expression transform from confusion to something like hope. "You're going to be the fastest runner in your whole school," David said, his voice thick with emotion. "Faster than Tommy Martinez?" "Way faster than Tommy Martinez." Lily grinned, the first real smile Evelyn had seen in weeks. That night, after Lily fell asleep, David pulled Evelyn into the hallway. "I saw Dr. Patel," he said quietly. "The latest blood work shows improvement. The tumor markers are going down." Evelyn's knees went weak. "Down? How much?" 23% since the last check. "It's working, Ev. The treatment is actually working." She collapsed against him, tears streaming down her face. Not tears of despair. This time, but something different. Something that felt dangerously like hope. "We're not out of the woods," David cautioned, "but we're moving in the right direction." Evelyn nodded against his chest, allowing herself to feel it, that fragile, precious thing she'd been too afraid to hold. Maybe they would make it through this. Maybe love wasn't the only thing they needed, but it was the foundation everything else was built on. Maybe her little girl would grow up to run marathons and wear her hair in curls and live a life full of all the tomorrows Evelyn had been so terrified would never come. For the first time in weeks, Evelyn let herself believe in maybe. The hope lasted exactly 11 days. Evelyn was reading to Lily when the alarms started. One moment her daughter was listening peacefully, the next she was gasping for air, her face draining of color. "Lily! Baby, what's wrong?" Nurses flooded the room. Dr. Patel appeared within minutes, his usual calm demeanor replaced by sharp urgency. Evelyn was pushed back against the wall as they worked over her daughter, checking vitals, adjusting oxygen, speaking in rapid medical terminology she couldn't follow. "Respiratory distress," someone said. "Oxygen saturation dropping." Evelyn's world narrowed to the sound of her daughter struggling to breathe. An hour later, Lily was stable but transferred to intensive care. The tumor had shifted, pressing against her lung. Emergency intervention had relieved the immediate pressure. But Dr. Patel's expression told Evelyn everything she needed to know before he said a word. "The cancer is more aggressive than we anticipated," he said quietly in the consultation room. David gripped Evelyn's hand so tightly it hurt. "The initial treatment showed promise, but the tumor has developed resistance. We need to change protocols immediately." "What does that mean?" David's voice was hollow. "A more intensive chemotherapy regimen, higher doses, more frequent sessions. The side effects will be significantly worse, but it's our best option to get ahead of this." Evelyn couldn't breathe, couldn't think. "And if it doesn't work?" Dr. Patel met her eyes. "Let's focus on making sure it does work. Lily is strong. Her body has responded well to treatment despite this setback. We're not giving up." But Evelyn heard what he didn't say. Not yet. The new treatment began the treatment next day. Lily was too weak to protest, too tired to cry. Evelyn sat beside her bed, holding her small hand, feeling helpless as poison dripped into her daughter's veins to kill the poison already inside her. "Mommy, I don't want to do this anymore," Lily whispered that night. Evelyn's heart shattered. "I know, baby. I know it's hard. It hurts so much, everything hurts." "I know." Evelyn climbed carefully into the hospital bed, cradling her daughter against her chest. "But you're the bravest person I've ever known, braver than any superhero." "I don't feel brave. Brave people are." Scared too, they just keep going anyway. And you keep going every single day, that's what makes you my hero. Lily was quiet for a long moment. Is Amanda still okay? The lady who visited? Yes, sweetheart. She's still okay. Will I be okay like her? Evelyn closed her eyes, tears sliding silently down her face. We're going to fight with everything we have to make sure you are. The following weeks blurred together into an endless nightmare. The new treatment ravaged Lily's small body. She lost more weight, stopped eating almost entirely, slept for hours, sometimes days. David threw himself into research, staying up until 3 in the morning, reading medical journals, looking for alternatives, miracles, anything. Evelyn watched him slowly unravel, his desperation matching her own. There has to be something else, he said one night, his eyes red-rimmed. Experimental. Treatments, clinical trials, something. David, I can't just sit here and watch her die, Evelyn, I can't. The word hung between them, terrible and real. Die. They'd been dancing around it for weeks, but there it was, naked and awful. She's not going to die, Evelyn said, but her voice wavered. How do you know? How can you possibly know that? Because I have to believe it. Because if I don't, I'll break completely, and she needs me whole. David collapsed into the chair, his face in his hands. I'm so scared. Me too. Evelyn knelt beside him. But we have to be scared. Together. We have to keep fighting together. For her. He looked up at her, and in his eyes she saw everything she felt reflected back. Terror, exhaustion, grief, and underneath it all, a stubborn, flickering flame of love that refused to go out. Together, he whispered. Together, she echoed. Outside the window, storm clouds gathered, and the first drops of rain began to fall. When hope falters, love must be enough. The rain hadn't stopped for 3 days. Evelyn watched the drops stream down the hospital window while Lily slept, her tiny body almost disappearing among the white sheets. The aggressive treatment was in its 3rd week, and her daughter seemed more fragile with each passing day. Dr. Patel entered quietly, holding a clipboard. His expression was different, not the usual professional mask, but something Evelyn couldn't decipher. I need to speak with you both, he said. Softly. Evelyn's heart plummeted. David stood up abruptly from the chair where he'd been dozing. They braced themselves for the worst. The latest test results came in, Dr. Patel continued. We did a complete MRI yesterday while Lily was sedated. And? David's voice was barely a whisper. The tumor has shrunk by 40%. Silence. Evelyn blinked, certain she'd heard wrong. What? 40% reduction? I honestly wasn't expecting such a dramatic response to the new protocol, not this quickly. But the numbers don't lie. The tumor is shrinking significantly. Evelyn felt her legs weaken. David caught her, but he was trembling too. Does this mean she's going to be okay? Evelyn asked, barely daring to believe. It means we're on the right track. There's still a long journey ahead, but this is extremely promising. If it continues at this rate, we could be talking about remission within a few months. The word hung in the air like magic. Remission. But the treatment is killing her, David said, his voice breaking. She's so weak. I know. Believe me, I know how difficult it is to watch this. But Lily's body is responding exactly as we need it to. The side effects are temporary. The cancer, if left untreated, wouldn't be. Evelyn looked at her sleeping daughter. For the first time in weeks, she saw beyond the pallor, beyond the fragility. She saw a future. How long until we know for certain? She asked. We'll do more tests in 2 weeks, but for now. This is a victory. Celebrate it. When Dr. Patel left, Evelyn and David embraced, crying. But this time, they weren't only tears of despair. Lily woke an hour later. Evelyn was at her side instantly. Hi, sweetheart. How are you feeling? Tired, Lily murmured. Always tired. I know, baby. But I have good news. The medicine is working. The tumor is getting smaller. Lily opened her eyes a little wider. Smaller? Much smaller. You're winning, Lily. You're fighting and you're winning. A small smile appeared on her daughter's pale face. Really? Really? Does that mean I get to go home? Soon? Evelyn hesitated. Not quite yet, but it means we're getting there. You just need to keep being brave a little longer. I'm trying, Mommy. I'm trying so hard. I know, my love. And you're being amazing. That night, for the first time in weeks, Evelyn slept more than 2 hours straight. She dreamed of Lily running through a field of flowers. Her hair, which would grow back, had to grow back, flowing in the wind, her laughter echoing through the air. In the following days, subtle changes began to appear. Lily managed to eat half a bowl of soup. She asked to watch her favorite cartoon. She inquired about school, about her friends. Small victories, but to Evelyn each one was a miracle. Amanda visited again, bringing a new storybook. Lily recognized her immediately this time. "Did you get better too?" Lily asked. "I did. And you're going to get better too, little warrior." "I promise." "People shouldn't promise things they can't control," Lily said with a wisdom that broke Evelyn's heart. Amanda smiled gently. "You're right, but I believe so strongly that you're going to beat this. I'm going to make that promise anyway." Lily thought for a moment, then nodded. "Okay, I believe it too." And for the first time since the diagnosis, Evelyn allowed herself to believe as well. The rain finally stopped. Through the window, a ray of sunlight broke through the clouds. 6 months later, spring arrived with an explosion of color that seemed deliberately celebratory. Cherry blossoms lined the street as David pulled into the driveway, and Evelyn could swear they'd bloomed just for this moment. "We're home, sweetheart," she whispered to Lily in the back seat. Lily pressed her face against the window, her eyes bright and clear now, taking in every detail of the house she'd been away from for so long. Her hair had started growing back, soft peach fuzz that Evelyn couldn't stop touching. "It looks different," Lily said. "Nothing's changed," David replied. But Evelyn knew what their daughter meant. Everything looked different now. Everything was different. The front door, opened before they reached it. Neighbors had gathered, respectfully distant but unmistakably present. Mrs. Chen from next door had tears streaming down her face. Mr. Rodriguez held a welcome home banner that his granddaughter had clearly made. "We won't stay," Mrs. Chen called out. "We just wanted you to know we're here. We've always been here." Evelyn nodded, too emotional to speak. The community had been their silent army. Meal trains, lawn care, prayer circles. They'd held the family up when falling seemed inevitable. Inside, the house smelled like home. Evelyn had spent the previous day cleaning every surface, washing every sheet, making everything perfect for this moment. Lily walked slowly through each room, touching furniture, picking up forgotten toys. She stopped at the living room window, where her art supplies still sat waiting. "Can I draw?" she asked. Such a simple question. Such a profound return to normalcy. "Of course, baby. Whatever you want." Lily settled at the table and picked up a crayon, yellow, bright as sunshine. She began to draw with focused intensity while her parents watched, barely breathing. "What are you making?" David asked after a while. "A map," Lily said without looking up. "Of where I've been and where I'm going." Evelyn leaned closer. The drawing showed a winding path through dark scribbles toward a house surrounded by flowers and stick figures holding hands. "That's you and Daddy," Lily pointed. "And that's Amanda and Dr. Patel. And that's me going home." "You are home, sweetheart." Lily shook her head. "Not just this home, I mean back to myself. I was lost for a while, in the scary place. But I found my way back." Evelyn knelt beside her daughter, taking her small hand. "You're the bravest person I've ever known." "I was scared every day," Lily admitted. "But you told me brave people can be scared. They just keep going anyway." "I did say that, didn't I?" "You were right." Lily set down her crayon and looked directly at her mother. "I'm tired, Mommy. But I'm happy tired, not sick tired." David joined them on the floor, and they sat together in a triangle, hands linked, tears flowing freely. "Dr. Patel said I might not remember all of this when I grow up," Lily said, "but I want to remember. I want to remember being strong." "You'll remember," Evelyn promised, "and we'll remind you, we'll tell you the story of the little girl who fought darkness and won. Will it have a happy ending?" Evelyn looked at her daughter, scarred but whole, weakened but growing stronger, forever changed but undeniably here. "It has a happy beginning," she said. "Everything that comes next is your story to write." Lily smiled and returned to her drawing. She added stars above the house, dozens of them, filling the sky with light. Outside, the cherry blossoms scattered in the breeze like pink snow. Inside, a family began the long, beautiful process of learning how to live again. The cancer was in remission. The scans were clear. Tomorrow would bring its own challenges, follow-up appointments, lingering fears, the work of healing both body and soul. But today, they were home. Today, they were together. Today was enough. Some battles leave scars, some victories are quiet, some happy endings are really just new beginnings. This is Lily's story of darkness, courage, and the unbreakable light of hope.